OMB puts out an annual pay-as-you-go act report. This report clearly shows that last year's reconciliation bill added $199 billion in deficits to the budget scorecard OMB is required to maintain. Since the majority party have tried to claim phony tax gap savings from the law's IRS funding last year, but when legally required to produce an accurate cost estimate, even this administration was forced to admit the bill increases deficits, and so I'm asking you to put that report in the record.
Without objection.
Okay. The president and this budget's supporting documents continue to falsely claim that he is a deficit reducer. Nobody believes that. People know about the trillions spent in spending binge last Congress and the costly administrative actions. CBO's current law baseline when compared to February 2021 baseline when President Biden took office shows increased deficits of $6 trillion over 21 to 31, and you can see it here. So it seems to me the administration misleads the American people on real deficit reduction. Your response to that?
Senator Grassley, CBO's job is to show the path on deficits as if no policies happen. The president has policies. His policies would bring down the deficit by $3 trillion. CBO has not looked at the president's policies yet. They will do that later this summer. So CBO gave you a baseline. That assumes none of this happens. And that is why the president is putting these policies forward, because we do believe staying on current course is not sustainable.
You can see from the chart that the deficit actually goes up, and I'll just leave that where it is. What is the primary driver of our long-term deficit problem?
So deficits, as you know, are year over year. So if you don't want to make the longer-term debt problem worse, you got to deal with yearly deficits. That's why this president's put forward policies that would say over the 10-year period, deficits come down $3 trillion. So as some doctor says, do no more harm. So we have got to get our deficits under control, and that in return has impacts on our debt.
Wow, friends, new data has been released. More and more Americans say they cannot afford to pay their bills. There is a growing number of states and cities that are moving forward with direct relief payments for their residents. Friends, you may qualify for at least $1,000, so please make sure that you watch until the end of this video. Also, I will be announcing the 2 winners from yesterday's giveaway at the end of today's video. But if you would like to enter next Friday's giveaway, friends, simply click and like several of my videos, and then comment below the keyword of each video that you watch. The more videos that you watch and then comment on, the greater your chances of winning the weekly giveaways. A growing number of Americans say they are struggling to pay their bills, battered by inflation and the loss of federal crisis aid. According to the Census Bureau's most recent household pulse survey, which gathered responses during the first 2 weeks of February, about 36% of consumers say it has been somewhat to very difficult for them to pay their usual bills in the last 7 days. That represents a 25% increase compared with 1 year earlier, and is higher than even in early months of the crisis, when households were buoyed by expanded unemployment aid and stimulus checks. The health of the American consumer is key to the U.S. economy, which relies on consumer spending for 70 cents of every $1 in economic activity. Increasingly, however, there are signs that more households are reaching a breaking point, weighed down by grocery prices and energy prices that have jumped 20% or more in 2 years, and rents that have surged 13%. Neil Saunders, managing director of Global Data, noted, consumers are cutting back by trading down to cheaper store brands and even buying less food. Inflation is not an enemy that consumers can withstand indefinitely. And at the same time, there's a dichotomy in the economy. The job market remains strong, with employers continuing to hire. Experts have pointed out that yet while more Americans may have jobs than in the early days of the crisis, their incomes are not keeping up with inflation, eroding their standard of living. New data has showed that some Americans are struggling more than others, with a greater share of hardship reported in many southern states. Incomes tend to be lower in those regions, with many workers still earning the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour, an hourly rate that has not budged since 2009. Mississippi has a greater share of Americans who are straining to pay their bills. More than half of its residents report difficulty in meeting their typical obligations. Other U.S. states with a greater than average share of struggling households include Louisiana, West Virginia, and Alabama. According to the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, Missouri, median household income in Mississippi stands at $46,637. That is well below the U.S. average of $70,784. According to a study published last month by LendingTree, the share of Americans who are living paycheck to paycheck is on the rise. The analysis found that 61% of consumers who were living paycheck to paycheck in December is a 7 percentage point rise from May 2021. It has also been confirmed that Americans earning less than $25,000 are struggling the most, with about 64% saying they recently experienced difficulties in paying their recent bills. And people who receive food stamps, who typically live in low-income households, are reporting a spike in financial distress. Even some higher-income Americans say they are running into problems. About 1 in 10 people who earn over $200,000 a year say they have experienced some or a lot of difficulty in paying their bills. So, dear friends, please let me know in the comment section below how inflation has affected your lives. It has also been announced that New Mexico residents may receive payments worth up to $1,000 thanks to recent legislation passed in the State House of Representatives. The legislation, called House Bill 547, would give New Mexico residents a rebate of $500 if they are single taxpayers, or $1,000 if they are married filers. The bill was passed in the House by a vote of 50 to 18 and is now heading to a vote in the state Senate. Democratic State Representative Derek Lente, who introduced the bill on the House floor, said, "We heard the public. We heard members of this body and the Senate. We should give more money back to the people of New Mexico." The legislation increases the rebate amount, initially pitched by over 50%. In the original legislation, single filers would have received only $300, while joint filers would have received $600. The legislation is an increase in corporate tax deductions, as well as a child income tax credit that is worth up to $600 for all eligible taxpayers. Friends, in the comment section below, please let me know how your state should help its residents financially. Well, my magnificent and most marvelous friends, that is the end of my daily stimulus update video for this Saturday. Thank you, friends, for being part of this community. The two winners of yesterday's Walmart gift card giveaway is Tina Hawley and Pauline Serini. Congratulations, my friends! To claim your gift card, please check your notifications page and send me a message. Or you can message me on my Facebook page. Thank you, dear friends, and have a wonderful and very blessed weekend.